Hi, we're going to present about the World Health Organization. Our group consists of 4 persons: Darshini, Aravind Ganesh, Aino, and me, Hongwei. First of all, I'm going to present about the history of World Health Organization and how it was founded. In the 14th century, people were terrified of plague, so ships were suspect of harboring. The infection were detained at port for a period of 40 days before they could enter the city. The idea was that the passage of time, the underlying infection will either manifest into full-blown disease or die out. Thus, this way is basically a good way to protect the citizen from this plague or bacteria causing the disease. As of now, it was known as the quarantine. But in different parts of the world, they have different quarantine measures. So in 1851, International Sanitary Conference was held in Paris. Two, Pan-American Sanitary Bureau was set up to bring uniformity in quarantine measures in American states. It was the world's first international health agency. It was later renamed as Pan-American Health Organization in 1958, and the headquarters is in Washington, D.C., America. Next, after the First World War, the health wing of the League of Nations was set up. Then there was the World War II, following which the United Nations was set up. As we all know, World Health Organization, who was one of the many parts of the UN. So in April 1940, a conference was held in San Francisco, where Brazil and China proposed that they should form an international health organization and it should be established. So on 7 April 1948, the World Health Organization was now known as WHO was formally formed. And on that day, 7 April 1948, is also known as the World Health Day, as it was the day where World Health Organization was founded. Role in eradicating smallpox as of now. But the current ones are the COVID-19, HIV virus, which brings us syndrome of AIDS, Ebola, and malaria. The World Health Organization it also helps in epidemic control, giving people the proper quarantine measures, and help in drug standardization. That's all for my part. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Aino, and we talk about the function of WHO. The focus of WHO has shifted over time. This is not surprising at all, considering to the broad scope of WHO that the organization tends to focus for its work around only some of its function at any given time. The organization have 6 functions. The first function is to provide leadership on matters critical health and engage in partnership where the joint action is needed. It means that this organization have a leadership to make this organization more stable like that. So it won't have a problem. Number 2 is shaping the research agenda and stimulate the generation, translation of valuable knowledge. Number 3, setting norms and standards, promoting, monitoring their implementation. And the evidence base is a policy option, so your details will be safe. Number 5, provide the technical support, catalyze change, building sustainable capacity. Number 6, monitoring the health situation and addressing health trends. So, WHO organization always monitor our work health situation so that our work will always stable and do not have any health problem. So this set of functions, according to WHO, are based on analysis of WHO international system. So this set of functions, WHO's claim about it have a advantage that will be examined in greater detail in some paper. So that's all from me. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Darshini and I will be explaining on about the contribution of World Health Organization or WHO towards the community. So basically we all know that WHO has contributed a lot towards our society. However, I'll be only explaining about three of their contributions, which is the Health for All campaign, Health and Development Program, and lastly the Poverty and Health Program. As for the first one, which is the Health for All program, it is basically about aiming to reorient health policy and prioritize from a risk factor approach to strategies that addresses the determinants of health and empowerment of people to participate in improving the health of their communities. So these approaches combine classic public health dictums with new strategies, some setting explicit goals to integrate public health with general welfare policy. So Health for All or health promotion and population health have contributed to this reorientation in thinking and strategy, but the focus of health policy remains expenditure rather than investment. In its Health for All strategy, WHO positioned health at the center of development policy and defined the goal of health policy as providing all people with the opportunity to lead a socially and economically productive life. So it proposed a revolutionary shift in perspective for input to outcomes, which is the governments were to be held accountable for the health of their populations, not just for the health services they provide. So secondly is about health and development program. Actually, better health is central to human happiness and well-being. So it also made an important contribution to economic progress as healthy populations live longer, are more productive and save more. So WHO's work on health and development tries to make sense of these complex links. So basically it is concerned with the impact of better health on development and poverty reduction, and conversely with the impact of development policies on the achievement of health goals. So in particular, it aims to build support across government for higher levels of investment in health and to ensure that health is prioritized within overall economically and development plans. So in this context, health and development work supports health policies that respond to the needs of the poorest groups. So WHO also works with donors to ensure that aid for health is adequate, effective, and targeted at priority health problems. So as for the last one is poverty and health program. So approximately 1.2 billion people in the world live in extreme poverty, so like less than $1 per day. So poverty creates ill health because it forces people to live in environments that make them sick without decent shelter, clean water, or adequate sanitation. So WHO supports countries to design and implement proper health policies, that is health policies which is prioritize and respond to the needs of poor people. So this work includes global advocacy, regional initiatives, and direct support to ministries of health in developing countries. So WHO ensures that the health perspective is reflected in poverty reduction on strategies, medium-term expenditure frameworks, and helps to develop sector-wide approaches. So that's only for the WHO contribution towards the community.
Hi, I'm Arvind Ganesh Ramakrishnan. So basically, I'm here to present about the conclusion. So WHO works worldwide to advance well-being, keep the world safe, and serve the powerless. So they want us to be more healthier mentally and also physically, keeping the world safer and a better place to be with a healthy environment. Serve the powerless people are people who facing poverty and economical crisis, health crisis basically. So WHO would like to support them. Besides, WHO will guarantee that a billion additional individuals have general well-being inclusion to shield a billion additional individuals from well-being crisis and furnish a further billion individuals with better well-being and prosperity. So basically, they want to help billions of people to have a better health care, to have a better life by fighting the crisis they face economically, health, so that they would have a better life. For all inclusive well-being inclusion, WHO zero in on essential medical care to improve admittance to quality fundamental administration. So basically they are zero in the, as they say, essential medical care to approve their admittance in the fundamental administrations lah. So next would be progress in the direction of practical financing and budgetary security. So basically WHO will plan on the financial and ways to make up a good budget to help people, especially countries with under crisis and unstable political situations. So they are facing, if their country is facing like war or any severe health problems, like so far COVID-19 had been coming. So uh, keeping up a good budget is very important, and WHO are proving it to us by doing it very well. uh, and yeah, improve admittance to fundamental maths and well-being items. So they are tutoring us. For example, in COVID-19, they're tutoring everyone to wear a mask, to carry a hand sanitizer, to practice social distancing, uh, uh, because you know the right medical ways to uh, basically prevent any diseases from contracting and stuff like that. Next will be train the well-being workforce and ex-hot work strategies. So basically, the WHO will be training millions of medical practitioner, nurses, and individuals who are in medical, uh, basically perform well uh, and cooperate for the well-being of patients. Next would be uphold individuals' cooperation in public well-being strategies. So individual cooperation, which means here is there will be many individuals from WHO cooperating, like program or organizing about how well-being can be held to in order to tutor people the importance of what is WHO is all about and what are the advantages of tutoring to them. And the last but not least, improved checking information and data. So basically, WHO checks and the information and data about the international health organization and how each and every country takes care of their health routine, their health lifestyle, their medical life, and so on. That's all for me. Thank you. For conclusion.
decided to talk about bubonic plague, which is also known as the Black Death. So the Black Death was the one of the deadliest pandemic that have ever been recorded in our human history. So the Black Death resulted in the deaths of up to 75 to 200 million people in Eurasia and North Africa, and also peaking in Europe from 1347 to 1351. So this plague is caused by a bacterium, Yersinia pestis, and the cause of this plague will be later explained by one of my team members. So the first plague occurred during mid of 13th century and killed almost 75 to 200 million people, as I've already mentioned before. However, I'm not so sure about the data because some of the data shows the death toll peaking at 50 million and some of it shows up to 200 million. So secondly, the Great Plague, lasting from 1665 to 1666, was the last major pandemic of the bubonic plague to occur in England. So it happened within the 16th century, long second pandemic, a period of intermittent bubonic plague epidemics which originated from Central Asia in 1351. The first year of the Black Death and outbreak which included other forms such as pneumonic plague and lasted until 1750s. So the 1665 to 66 epidemic was on a far smaller scale than the earlier Black Death pandemic. It was also remembered afterwards as the Great Plague, mainly because it was the last widespread outbreak of bubonic plague in England during the 400-year second pandemic. So the third plague pandemic occurred in 19th centuries. The third plague pandemic was the major bubonic plague pandemic that began in Yunnan, China in 1855 during the fifth year of the Xianfeng Emperor of the Qing dynasty. This episode of bubonic plague spread to all the inhabited continents and ultimately led to more than 12 million deaths in India and China, with about 10 million killed in India alone. So, according to the World Health Organization, the pandemic was considered active until 1960 when worldwide casualties dropped to 200 per year. So plague deaths have continued at a lower level for every year since then. So now it has been discovered that this plague has been detected in one of China's part recently. So basically, this bubonic plague is deadliest epidemics, and the causes, the risk factors, the symptoms, and the prevention will be later explained by other team members. So that's all for the background of bubonic plague, and that's all from me.
Hi, I'm Arvind Ganesh here. So basically, I'm here to present about the symptoms of bubonic plague. Okay, so first and foremost, it causes fever. So fever it comes with chills and it will be very bad. Just like any other infectious disease, it attacks our immune system and our immune system starts fighting. And fever is the first thing, accompanied by chills. So the next would be headache. When fever comes, there'll be headache, which is very chronic because of this very bad infectious disease. And there will always also be weakness because our immune system would be very weak after fighting for so long. And also there'll be lymph nodes which will be swollen and painful under the arms, in the neck or in the groin. Okay, now I would like to present about the risk and causes of contracting bubonic plague. Chances of getting bubonic plague are low. However, we are more likely to contract if we visit or live in an area with a plague or an environment that can cause one. So basically, it comes from touching a living or dead animal that might have been infected, like a rat, mouse, squirrel, rabbit, or chipmunk. So basically, when we had contact there, the virus would take the advantage uh, to climb up into our body and to infect us. Next would be working with animals regularly and spend a lot of times working, hiking, camping, or hunting, and even jungle trekking. As we all know, it is very dangerous if we have any uh, contact with other animals or insects. Spend time with someone who has the plague. Yeah, obviously, it can also cause infectious disease. So the treatment of bubonic plague is basically a doctor would be running tests from our blood or spit or fluid from our lymph nodes to identify whether there is plague germs or not. If we have been around with someone who has the plague, our doctor may start treatment even if we don't have the symptoms. If we are near to the person, wear tight fitting disposable surgical mask or uh, probably a surgical suit which is really safe to be worn. Uh, so the chances of contracting is very low, so that they would not admit us to the hospital, so there would be no problem then. If you have the plug, you'll be admitted to the hospital. You'll get antibiotics like ciprofloxacin, Cipro under the brand of Cipro, doxycycline under the brand of Vibramycin, and gentamicin under the brand of Garamycin, and levofloxacin under the brand of Levaquin. Treatment works well. With antibiotic, most people get better within a week or two. But without treatment, most people with plague will surely die. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Hong Wei, and I'm going to explain about the mode of transmission of bubonic plague. There are three modes of transmission when it comes to bubonic plague. First of all, the bite of infected flea. Second is directed contact with infected tissues. Third is inhalation of infected respiratory droplets, also known as aerosols. The first mode of transmission is flea bite. It's literally the meaning getting bite by the infected flea. Uh, how this came about is rodents died in the plague epizootic, causing flea to feed on the dead rat. And when they feed on the dead rat, they got infected by this bubonic bacteria. So because of that, flea began to spread around uh, due to like flea began to bite on animals such as cats and dogs. So slowly it began to spread, uh, becoming an outbreak, and it's called the bubonic plague. The second transmission is through contact with contaminated fluid or tissues that's infected with the bubonic plague. It can be any contact, for example, human and animal. Like if your dog is infected with bubonic bacteria, if you either make a contact with it, you might get infected with the bubonic plague. The third mode of transmission of bubonic plague is through infectious droplets, which also known as aerosols. Is infected by cough or even flu droplets from a person with usually with plague pneumonia. It's literally the meaning. It usually occur when it close contact with infected people who have this bubonic plague, and usually if this infected person with cough and flu, and it is known as the deadly plague because it kills many people during such outbreak. That's all for me. Thank you.
So I will conclude that this illness plague is an acute bacterial illness that is typically can be transmitted to human by the bites of the infection flares or a direct contact with infected animals or inhalation of infected respiratory droplets. In more instances, that this plague can be prevented by using an appropriate combination, which is personal protective measure, environmental modification to reduce the amount of food and shelter that have been available to rodents, and an antibiotic therapy for a person who are presumed to have been exposed to its infection. Although that there are various modifications of kill plague vaccine has been available since World War II. So that this plague vaccine is recommended for a laboratory personnel who are routine has been exposed to this disease and regularly that have contact with white rodent or their flares in areas where that plague is exotic and epizootic. So that's all from us. Thank you.
I am Hong Wei, and I'm going to explain about the mode of transmission of bubonic plague. There are three modes of transmission when it comes to bubonic plague. First of all, the bite of infected flea. Second is directed contact with infected tissues. Third is inhalation of infected respiratory droplets, also known as